At the graduation ceremony, I was full of joy, secretly preparing a marriage proposal. I planned to surprise Eric as soon as the ceremony ended, but I called him countless times, and he never picked up. Later, I found out that Eric, who was supposed to be at the ceremony, had gone to the airport to pick up his childhood sweetheart. It wasn't until I showed up at his door, soaked like a drowned rat, that I locked eyes with the girl who had just returned. She raised an eyebrow at me, watching them embrace intimately, unable to part. I understood everything. I sold the diamond ring I had saved up to buy. I took the cat we raised together. Later, he came to me crying. I prepared the proposal ceremony you always wanted. I even bought back the rings you sold. Scarlett, please come back. Okay. When I first arrived at Eric's door that day, they had just gotten back as well. The girl was leaning on Eric's shoulder, acting coquettish and delicate. They were hugging tightly, looking inseparable, sensing my gaze. The girl looked up and raised an eyebrow at me. She mouthed silently, "Hello, little sister-in-law." Then, smack, she kissed Eric on the cheek. Eric turned his head slightly, feigning annoyance. "What are you doing?" I said to her. "Hello." Hearing my voice, Eric's body stiffened instantly. He abruptly pushed Haley, who was leaning on him, away and turned around stiffly, seeing me watching them expressionlessly. Eric's face went pale. "Scarlett, why are you here? You didn't come to pick me up." I smiled. "If I hadn't come, how would I have seen today's show?" Before he could speak, Haley popped her head out from behind Eric. "Hi, you must be the little girlfriend Eric talks about." She extended her hand. "Hello, I'm Eric's childhood friend. You really are just like they described." I didn't expect. I tilted my head curiously. "Didn't expect what?" She curled her lip. "I didn't expect you to keep such a tight leash on little Eric. It was just a cheek kiss." "Is that so weird? You act like such a hillbilly." Her voice was sweet and sugary, but her words were piercing. Eric looked at me with apologetic eyes, then frowned and nudged her with his elbow. Haley stuck out her tongue and rolled her eyes at him. "Sorry, I'm just used to being straightforward. Scarlett won't blame me, right?" She playfully gritted her teeth and punched him lightly. "She didn't even say anything to me." "You're so stingy. Ever since you got a girlfriend, you've become distant with me. What happened to our bond of being joined at the hip since we were kids?" Eric frowned, looking displeased. "What nonsense are you spouting? That was ages ago. Don't talk like that in front of my girlfriend. If she gets mad, you'll have to answer to me." Haley pouted, her voice dropping. "You really have forgotten our lifelong friendship just because you got a girlfriend." "Eric, you're a real piece of work." Eric looked tense. "How could I? You're my best friend. Scarlett is my girlfriend. You're both important to me." Haley was quickly placated. She happily tried to follow us inside. Eric blocked her at the door. "I've already brought you back. Don't go crying to my mom again. If there's nothing else, you should go home." "I need to spend time with my girlfriend." Haley pouted, standing reluctantly to the side. "I haven't seen your mom yet. I miss her. I'm not leaving." She made a move to enter again. Seeing me still standing there, she asked, "Scarlett, aren't you coming in?" I looked at her, perplexed. I didn't know I had a sister, and I don't have a habit of claiming random relatives. "Ms. Tang, being rude isn't the same as being straightforward. You're giving straightforward a bad name. Also, whether I forgive you or not is my business. Neither of you is qualified to decide for me." Haley didn't expect me to be so blunt. She stammered for a moment, unable to form a sentence. Then her eyes turned red. Eric, Scarlett, no, I'm sorry." Eric stepped in to smooth things over. "Scarlett, she's always been a bit dense. She doesn't know the meaning of words. She didn't mean any harm. Don't take it to heart." My hand gripped the hem of my clothes tightly. A gust of wind blew past, and I shivered from the cold. Only then did Eric notice I was soaked through. While complaining about how I didn't take care of myself, he carefully dried my hair. Fluff, our cat, circled my feet, hooking its tail around my pant leg and purring loudly. "Mrs. Lewis told me Fluff threw up." I rushed over and forgot my umbrella. "I didn't expect the rain to get so heavy halfway here," I said. Eric frowned. "Even if you're worried about Fluff, you can't disregard your own health. What if you get sick? Why didn't you call me?" I pushed away the hand drying my hair and looked up at him. "Check your phone." Eric froze, then immediately pulled his phone from his pocket. Panic flashed across his face. "Scarlett, my phone was on silent." "I'm sorry, was it something important?" I glanced at my bag, which contained the diamond ring I had prepared for the proposal. I shook my head. "Nothing important. It was just the graduation ceremony. I wanted you to see it." Before coming here, I had already cleaned up the decorated venue. I gave the useful items to the dorm manager downstairs and threw the rest in the trash. Eric squatted beside me, looking sincere. Scarlett, I promise next time I won't let you be unable to find me. Hey, isn't this a photo from our 2go4 competition when we were kids? You kept this. Haley came up and wrapped her arms around Eric's neck. Come look. Look at your weird face. It's killing me. Eric was pulled away by her, but he didn't get angry. He bent down to accommodate her. You're one to talk. Look at your own face. You look constipated. Haley pouted angrily and reached out to tickle Eric's armpit. Eric lost his balance, and the two of them fell onto the couch together, laughing. Fluff let out a sudden meow, interrupting them. Eric realized what happened and abruptly pushed Haley off of him. Haley hit the wall and looked at Eric with a mix of shock and grievance. I picked up Fluff and held him in my arms. Fluff, you're so rude. You interrupted their moment. I looked up at the two of them. Do you need me to make space? Maybe bring you a bed? Eric's face went pale as he scrambled to stand up. Scarlett, I just lost my balance. That's why we fell together. Don't think of us like that. Are you blaming me for not picking you up today? Haley bit her lip, looking furious. Scarlett, why do you speak so harshly? Just because he has a girlfriend, does that mean he loses the right to have friends? We grew up naked together in the bathtub. What's wrong with being close? People with dirty minds see dirt everywhere. I looked at her coldly. You were naked together as kids. So you want to be naked together now? You dare to lie down together right in front of my face? Who knows what you do behind my back? Haley's eyes reddened. You're too much. No wonder everyone says you come from a small town and are barbaric and uncivilized. Someone like you doesn't deserve Eric at all. I grabbed her and pulled her close. Say that again. Eric forcibly separated us. Enough. He frowned. Haley is right. You're crossing the line. You've been hostile toward Haley from the start. If you're mad that I missed your calls today, I apologize. Haley stood behind him, the corner of her lips curving up slightly at me. Her eyes flashed with triumph. Blood rushed to my head. I clenched my fist and slapped Eric across the face. A bright red handprint instantly appeared on his fair cheek. Haley screamed and lunged at me to hit me. I slapped her backhand without hesitation. I didn't hold back an ounce of strength. They both deserved it. Eric sat on the sofa holding an ice pack to his face. Haley had run home crying earlier. Fluff's stomach is upset today. Maybe you should wait until the weather is better to take him. Eric mumbled. His speech was slurred because of his swollen cheek. Scarlett, you hit us and cursed us. Did you vent enough anger? He tried to reach out to touch me. I dodged him. A trace of impatience flashed in his eyes. Is this really necessary? Didn't I explain everything to you? Haley hasn't been back in a long time. Was it so wrong for me, as her best friend, to pick her up? He knew. I had been looking forward to today for a long time. Long ago, he promised me that on my graduation day, he would give me a big surprise. When I heard that, my heart pounded uncontrollably, wondering if the surprise would be a proposal. So, I prepared a proposal ceremony in advance, waiting for this day where we would both choose each other. Now, all of that had turned to dust, and he was accusing me instead. My chest felt tight, as if blocked by a stone. For a moment, I was glad he didn't come today. Glad that this ridiculous proposal didn't happen. Haley was vague, saying your friends warned her about me, but I've never met your friends. Their impression of me comes from you. So I'm curious, how do you describe me to them? Barbaric, rude, aggressive. Eric froze. It was just casual talk. They exaggerated. I stared at him quietly. But you never casually talked to me about your friends, including Haley. He lowered his head, avoiding my gaze. I exhaled a breath of stale air and walked past him. Perhaps I had never truly seen this boyfriend I was so proud of. He didn't suddenly become rotten. I just suddenly discovered the rot. I saw his body tense up immediately. His voice was nervous. Are you coming back? Eric and his friends threw a welcome home party for Haley. Haley specifically sent me an invitation. I knew exactly what she meant by it, but running away isn't my style. One slap for each of them yesterday wasn't nearly enough to quell my anger. I happened to have just finished a job interview nearby. I stopped by their private room on the way. When I pushed the door open, the lively atmosphere instantly ground to a halt. Haley was drunk, leaning sloppily against Eric. Her hands were wandering, fiddling with the buttons of his shirt. Eric's expression changed. He quickly pushed away her wandering hands and stood up. Why are you here? I stared at them, my tone flat. To catch cheaters. The air in the room turned freezing. Haley covered her mouth, her eyes instantly filling with tears. Why do you slander people so casually? That's too much. Eric stood up abruptly and pulled me over. Stop making a scene. Today is Haley's celebration. Don't ruin it. Haley tugged at her sleeve. Did you see me touching Eric's abs? Don't misunderstand. Behavior like this is no big deal abroad. Best friends can touch each other. Eric's frown deepened. Alright, stop talking. I shook off his hand. I was just joking. Why did you all take it seriously? I know Eric has boundaries. I looked at Haley. Are my boyfriend's abs nice to touch? Haley looked at me with eyes full of mockery. Of course, they're nice. Eric's abs are the best I've ever touched. Eric looked a little smug. I smiled. You have to compare goods to know which is better. I've only touched Eric's. I haven't felt anyone else's. Let me join in on this game of yours. I smiled at Eric. You can't have double standards. Right. His face had turned completely black. Ignoring him, I directly ordered a few male models. I picked the two most handsome ones with the best bodies from the lineup. They were taller than Eric and completely overshadowed him with their presence. Enough. Get out. All of you. Eric roared at them. Sensing the mood was wrong, they apologized profusely to me and ran out without looking back. What a pity. Didn't get to touch them, but I memorized their faces. I'll definitely request you guys next time. I looked at him with amusement. I was just playing the game you two were playing. What are you getting angry for? He apologized to me with a dark face and pulled me to sit down. The others started changing the subject. Eventually, the topic turned to Eric and me. Haley cleared her throat. Scarlett, today is my party, and everyone has performed a talent for me. Since you're here, why don't you perform one too? After speaking, she waited with gloating anticipation. I really didn't have any talents. I was tone-deaf and uncoordinated. All my skill points had been put into academics. Studying my way from that small town to this glittering metropolis seemed to have used up all my luck. So much so that now I was dealing with this group of rotten people. My background had become the point of their attacks. I had become the barbaric and uncivilized person in the mouths of Eric and his friends. Eric forced a smile. Just sing a simple song. It's not hard. We were all singing just now. Haley shouted excitedly. Sis, I want to hear a song by Fei Wong. His friends chattered, choosing songs, arguing for half a day about what I should sing. Finally, they settled on a classic song with the highest pitch, the easiest one to fail at. Eric frowned slightly but stayed silent. Sis, you're not backing out, are you? Don't be a buzzkill. Haley raised an eyebrow at me. I stood up and walked toward her step by step. Who said I was going to perform a song? Then what are you going to do? I picked up a wine bottle by the neck. I'll perform a beatdown on a pair of cheating dogs. Unlucky in love, lucky at work. I woke up in bed rubbing my aching head. Ignoring the long string of questioning texts from Eric, I clicked on the pinned chat with the HR lady. MS, Lewis, congratulations on getting the job. Please report next Monday. I jumped out of bed in joy, but happiness breeds sorrow. My doorbell rang. I opened the door to see Eric's gloomy face. I sighed and tried to shut the door, but he blocked it with his foot and squeezed in. He sat on the sofa looking exhausted, rubbing his forehead. You really went too far yesterday. You made such a huge scene that my parents already know. Scarlett, go apologize to Haley, and I'll talk to my parents about the rest. I looked at him coldly. Eric sounded impatient. Don't throw a tantrum this time. I can tolerate whatever you do usually, but you shouldn't have embarrassed me in front of my friends. Do you know what they say about you behind your back? They say you're a village shrew. If this keeps up, you definitely won't pass my parents' inspection. You're making it very hard for me to be caught in the middle. Do you mind the women around me that much? Haley is just a platonic friend. You don't need to be so petty that you can't even tolerate my friends. And ordering male models to spite me, was that necessary? Looking at his deeply furrowed brows, the last trace of bitterness in my heart vanished. I grabbed him by the collar and punched him hard. A platonic friend who lies down with you regardless of the setting. A platonic friend who puts her hands inside your shirt. Your platonic friend is impressive. She can drink with you in public and screw you in private. Scum and trash. Neither of you is any good. Since you love each other so much, I hope you stick together forever and stop ruining other people's lives. Eric's face flushed red. Scarlett, don't be ridiculous. Eric, as of right now, we are broken up. Stop dreaming your little fantasies. Marry me. You're not worthy. I pushed Eric out the door. I sat there blankly, staring out the window. When I was little, I loved sitting in the boxing gym watching my dad teach boxing. In his spare time, he would teach me how to throw a punch. He even wanted me to inherit his legacy when I grew up. Mom would always scold him laughingly. If you teach Scarlett to be rough and tough, how will she find a boyfriend? Dad disagreed. Girls need to be strong, or they'll get bullied. Back then, my family was harmonious, and I lived without a care. But those good days were quickly shattered. I was sent to live with my uncle and aunt. The little me always hid in the storage room listening to them fight and smash things. I would soak my pillow with tears, then go to school the next day with dark circles under my eyes, all alone, without parents around. After being bullied enough, I turned into a snarling hyena. I learned to speak with my fists, holding back the tears in my eyes. I looked into the distance outside the window. Look, I won't be bullied anymore. If they bully me, I'll hit them back. Your daughter is brave, right? I had a few days before starting work. I needed to use this time to prepare everything for Fluff. Back in college, a stray cat at school had a litter. One of them was particularly weak and scrawny. It couldn't compete with the other kittens for milk. Miraculously, it survived until weaning. Then, it wobbled after the mother cat around campus looking for food. The little one was naturally frail. Often, food would touch its mouth only to be snatched away by the stronger kittens. Eric and I paid special attention to this little runt. We would bring it extra food every time, but eventually, it reached the point where its mother abandoned it. That night it rained heavily. Eric and I were coming back from somewhere when we saw it lying all alone in the rain. The nest with the other kittens was just nearby. Seeing us, it let out a weak meow, its head drooping back onto the ground. I quickly took off my coat, and together with Eric, we rushed it to the vet. It turned out it had feline infectious peritonitis. The mother cat judged it wouldn't survive and abandoned it. Because it was so small, the doctor said treatment might be futile, but we didn't want to give up. We insisted on treatment. Unexpectedly, Fluff gave us a miracle. Every time we visited, it got better. I would hold it in my arms, and its fluff would stick all over me. Eric would laugh, pointing at the cat hair on me, saying, "You two look like a fluff ball." The little guy poked his head out curiously from my arms. I laughed. "Then let's call you Fluffball." Okay. My roommate had allergies, so Fluff was temporarily raised at Eric's place. Thinking of Fluff waiting for me, I packed with more energy. Since that day, we hadn't contacted each other. I rang Eric's doorbell 3 times before a coquettish female voice came from inside. Coming. I frowned secretly, although I really didn't want to see them. This trip was necessary. Oh, our home doesn't welcome you. Haley's outer shirt was disheveled, and there were faint red marks on her neck. She tried to close the door. I blocked it with my body. I don't really want to be here either, but I have business. Move. I pushed the door open and walked in. Haley pretended to be slammed against the door. Ah, why are you barging in? Do you have no manners? Hearing the commotion, Eric ran out from inside. Seeing me, his eyes lit up with surprise. Then he frowned reservedly. Is something wrong? If you want to get back together, you have to apologize to us. Haley cried out, drawing his attention again. Haley, are you okay? Haley's eyes were slightly red as she gently rubbed her arm. Eric looked. There was indeed a small red patch. He frowned. About to speak, I rolled my eyes. What could be wrong? There's a camera above your head. Check the footage if you're worried. Haley lowered her head, avoiding eye contact. I accidentally bumped into it myself. Eric looked away awkwardly. It's good that you're here. Haley is right here. Apologize to her, and we can put this behind us. I laughed in anger. Do you not check your phone? He took out his phone in confusion. I had told him last night I was coming to get Fluff. I held up the pet carrier. Were you sleepwalking last night? Who agreed to this on WeChat? Do you not know what I'm here for today? He frowned and read through the chat history carefully. I must have drunk too much last night. I don't remember. I bumped past him. I'll notify you one more time. Eric, you've been dumped by me. Scarlett, you're fired. Haley shook Eric's arm. Eric, look at her. So rude. Barging right in. Eric stood there stiffly. He looked at me with a pale face, ignoring the reaction of the two behind me. I went straight to the second floor. Fluff was sleeping in the pet room. Hearing my footsteps, his little ears twitched. He happily jumped up and ran over, purring at me. I picked him up and buried my face in his fur. Fluff seemed lethargic. He tried to perk up and play with me, but after a while, he was listless again. Eric, seeing me interact with Fluff, smiled apologetically and tried to tease him with a string, but Fluff ignored him. He scratched his head. Mrs. Lewis hasn't been here the last 2 days, so Fluff hasn't been very active, but when we were eating yesterday, he kept meowing around me. As soon as you come, he doesn't love me anymore. Seeing Fluff's abnormal reaction, I asked coldly, have you fed Fluff in the last 2 days? Eric froze instantly. He looked up in shock but didn't dare meet my eyes. Fluff was still whimpering in my arms. Hearing his weak voice, tears of heartache burst from my eyes. I lowered my head, and the tears disappeared into his fur. I roared at him. You know to feed yourself when you're hungry. Why didn't you starve yourself to death? You two were busy being lovey-dovey while treating Fluff like this, Eric said anxiously. It's my fault for not taking care of Fluff. I ignored him, found the cat food, and filled his water bowl. Fluff ate half the bowl I poured in one go and drank a lot of water before stopping. Full and hydrated, he jumped onto me, meowing, Fluff, I'll take you to our home. Okay. When I left, Eric followed me closely. Seeing me turn back, he grabbed my hand tightly. I'm sorry to Fluff too. The one I like has always been you, Scarlet. Haley followed us the whole time. Hearing Eric's words, she gritted her teeth and stared at me with hatred. The insults she wanted to shout were stuck in her throat. I suddenly felt it was all so pointless, having dated someone like this. I felt embarrassed just talking about it. I pointed at his neck. Next time before you say that, maybe cover up the hickeys from the previous woman. Fighting back the urge to vomit, I said, you two disgust me, truly. The small apartment I rented wasn't as big as the pet room Eric had for Fluff, but Fluff seemed excited about everything, happily jumping around the room. I took out the cat treats and freeze-dried snacks I had bought. I hadn't dared to feed him too much earlier since he had been starving. Now I had to make it up to him. Fluff, I'll work hard to make money. I'll definitely buy you a big house. Okay, Fluff meowed while eating. I took that as a yes. I sold everything we had bought together, the designer bags he gave me, many of which I hadn't even used, and the pair of brand new diamond rings, all put on the second-hand market. Because the price was low and I had all the receipts, they sold out quickly. I used the money to buy lots of snacks for Fluff. Eric kept calling me recently. I'd block one number, and he'd call from another. If I didn't answer, he'd text, Scarlet, did you throw away everything I gave you? A screenshot followed. What's with these diamond rings? The receipt date is your graduation day. Is there something you haven't told me? Blocked. New number. I remembered I promised to go to your graduation. I can't believe I forgot such a big thing. I saw your photos on the school forum. Someone captured you preparing a proposal. You wanted to propose to me, didn't you? Scarlet, look what I prepared for you. It's the style you said you liked best. I found the buyer of those rings and bought them back. Will you come? Blocked. New number. It doesn't matter if you didn't come. I will prepare 99 proposals for you. If you don't come, I'll keep proposing. It was incredibly annoying. How can a person be so pathetic? One day, I got off work and prepared to get a new phone number. Just as I left the office, I saw one of Eric's bros from the party. There was no avoiding him. Eric drank himself into the hospital. Can you go see him if you have time? If he's sick, he should see a doctor. I studied finance, not medicine. The guy got anxious. Are you really this cold and irresponsible? He drank until he got a perforated stomach because you broke up with him. As a friend, I drank with him. You guys were so close. Surely you care. Looking at his face, I remembered. That day in the private room, he and Haley were the loudest ones jeering. I looked at him. You really have no manners. Standing at the entrance of someone's company yelling, is this your idea of class? It was rush hour, and people were coming and going, staring at him. His face turned red. You, I continued, not only are you rude, but you also lack accountability. You've really mastered the art of deflection. Instead of persuading him to drink less, you indulged him in the name of so-called brotherhood. You're half responsible for him ending up in the hospital. If he had drunk himself to death, you'd be the primary responsible party. He drank to drown his sorrows because he was too timing and got dumped. He has no moral compass. He can't blame anyone else. Furthermore, he is an adult with autonomy. If he indulges without considering the consequences, the other half of the responsibility lies with him. I brushed past his shoulder, blaming everything on a woman. You really have no class. Birds of a feather flock together. No wonder Eric is the way he is. I walked away in my high heels, leaving him with a colorful expression on his face. After Eric got out of the hospital, he came to find me again. I finally had a day off. It was noisy downstairs. It sounded like someone was proposing. I rolled over and buried my head in the pillow. Then I heard someone shouting through a megaphone. It sounded like they were calling my name. I sat up abruptly and looked out the window. There was Eric, standing inside a heart made of roses. He held a letter in his hand. Seeing me, he smiled at me and raised his megaphone. Scarlet, I love you. I didn't expect Eric to learn such a cheesy move, and his skin had grown thicker than a city wall. Just because I didn't throw the evidence of his cheating in his face, could he really deny it with a straight face? I went to the bathroom and filled a basin with water. Then I took ice cubes from the freezer. There was a crowd of onlookers downstairs. Seeing my setup, they quickly scattered. Eric stood stiffly in place, looking at me with guilt. Then, I soaked him like a drowned rat. The March wind carried a chill. Someone downstairs started to feel sorry for him, watching him posture like that. I held back my nausea and took a few steps back. I pulled Haley's number from the blacklist and waited for her to pick him up. Haley arrived quite early. She had an injury on her forehead. Eric saw her wound, and panic filled his eyes. "How did you get hurt?" Haley glanced up at me. "I heard you had cold water thrown on you, and I was worried. I was in too much of a hurry and got hit by someone on the way." Eric looked her over carefully, determining she wasn't seriously hurt. He pushed Haley away. "You go back first. Put some medicine on it." Haley tugged at his sleeve, lowering her head and sobbing. Suddenly, she tilted backward and fainted. Eric panicked instantly, forgetting everything else. He picked Haley up and rushed out of the crowd. The onlookers realized what was happening. While cracking sunflower seeds, they cursed Eric a few times. For the next few days, I lived in peace. I heard from old friends that Eric had officially announced his relationship with another girl in their circle. I guessed that girl was Haley. See, he pretended to be so deeply in love. Men are better actors than women. Not only did he fool everyone around him, but he also fooled himself. But he couldn't fool my feelings. If you truly love someone, how could you do things to hurt them? Drinking until hospitalized for me didn't stop him from cheating on me, nor did it stop him from getting together, marrying, and having kids with another girl. I worked hard at my job. I didn't let any news of them interrupt my plans. I wanted to return to my hometown, because after a certain age, people always miss home. This city was prosperous and inclusive, but I felt like there was a barrier between me and this place. The company recently planned to open a branch office. I submitted a transfer application to Jessica, my manager. Hearing my plan, she was stunned. After all, that area hadn't developed yet. Whether it was a promotion or an exile was unknown. "Jessica, you know me. The thing I fear least is the unknown. Give me a chance, and I'll grab it with all my might and climb up." Jessica smiled and patted my shoulder. "Young people really have drive." I took Fluff back to South City, this place I had been away from for so long. I was sent to my uncle's house when I was in middle school. It had been more than 10 years since I'd been back. The first thing I did after landing was look at apartments. I promised Fluff a big house. Now I could make it happen. The branch office was established. Mr. Lee added me to the leadership group chat. I had reintegrated into the city that gave me life. I never expected to see Eric here again. Who would have thought that even with a wife and child, he would still have designs on his ex-girlfriend? Seeing him this time, he looked so thin he was unrecognizable. His eyes were sunken, and his eyeballs were full of red veins, as if he hadn't slept in days. He forced the corners of his lips into an ugly smile. "I haven't seen Fluff in a long time. I really miss him." Seeing his old owner again, Fluff excitedly sniffed around him. Eric stroked him lovingly. "You raised him well. His fur is so sleek." I didn't respond. He touched his nose awkwardly and started looking for a new topic. "How have you been lately? Are you used to being here?" I took a sip of water. "This is where I grew up. When I first met your parents, the table was full of spicy food. If I could stomach that, how could I not be used to my own home?" Eric choked. "I was inconsiderate back then, letting you suffer grievances." I put down the glass. "You were inconsiderate. And there were a lot of places where you were inconsiderate. That's why I ran away overnight." His gaunt face turned even paler. I smiled happily. Over the years, I didn't want to ask how the two of them were doing, but they were too ridiculous. Former friends would tell me their stories as jokes from time to time, knowing their lives were so chaotic. Honestly, I felt quite vindicated. Haley got pregnant. It was Eric's. The Shun family was overjoyed that their chosen daughter-in-law was carrying the family heir. They pressured Eric to marry Haley. I think Eric was willing too. After all, he got involved with Haley before even breaking up with me. But unexpectedly, on the wedding day, he ran away. It really overturned my perception of him. I truly didn't know this ex-boyfriend of mine. The groom fleeing the wedding, leaving the bride alone to face all the relatives and friends. And Haley endured it. That love-brained girl, capable of being the other woman. What wouldn't she do? But unexpectedly, Haley gave everyone a huge surprise too. The child got sick and was hospitalized. Eric was there. He discovered the child wasn't his. Eric is blood type AB. The child is type O. What goes around comes around. If Eric had paid just a little more attention to the child, he wouldn't have been kept in the dark for so long. Eric left looking lost. Until one night after a dinner celebrating the branch company's record-breaking performance, I drank a little wine and felt dizzy. Walking into my apartment complex, a shadow suddenly rushed out from the side. Just as I was about to pull the pepper spray from my bag, I saw the face. Eric stood there, half his body in the shadows. I was afraid you'd fall. I saw you walking unsteadily. You should worry about yourself. Liam, the new intern who started yesterday and worked under me, lived across from me. Eric's face flushed red with anger. Get your hands off her. Who let you touch her? I leaned into Liam's arms. Do you have an opinion? Ex-boyfriend. Eric's face paled further. Did you find this guy just to spite me? Don't be so impulsive. Okay. I took Liam's hand and held it up in front of Eric. We're already living together. Do I need to lie to you? Eric stumbled back a few steps, retreating into the darkness. I frowned and wiped the fabric he had just touched. What a waste. I just bought it. I'd have to throw it away later. Being in the same space as him made me physically uncomfortable. I held the intern's hand and walked back. His voice was teasing. I heard we're living together. Across the hall count as living together, doesn't it? Eric secretly followed me for days. Helpless, I called the police, but without evidence, they couldn't do much. In that case, I could only call Haley. Haley arrived travel-worn and met me at a coffee shop. Are you very proud? Her face was sullen, her eyes tired. I'm curious. What do you think I'm proud of? Men, career, money. If it's the latter too, you're right. I am pretty proud. If you want to say I'm proud because of a man, actually, that works too. I took out my phone and opened a photo of my boyfriend. Height 62, 8-pack abs, young, handsome, and sensible. Men are just the icing on the cake. Haley's face turned very ugly. She slammed the table and left. Before leaving, just to keep up appearances, she paid for our table. Actually, I already knew her family went bankrupt. Since Eric found out he was cuckolded, he hadn't given her living expenses for a long time. I picked up my coffee and took a slow sip. I heard that when Eric tried to leave, Haley threatened suicide. She jumped into the park's artificial lake on the spot, but she was quickly fished out by onlookers. The incident caused a scene. Both were taken away for counseling, perhaps out of shame. Eric went back with Haley, but after returning, Eric started looking for a lawyer to divorce her. Haley could only rely on him now, so she would definitely hold on for dear life. Those two still have plenty of drama ahead of them. The young man's arms tightened around me, so distracted. Looks like I'm not trying hard enough.